It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Well, my name is David. I'm the COO and co-founder of Código Nuevo. I hope a lot of you know what it is. For those who don't know what it is, Código Nuevo is an online media magazine aimed and focused at young people. We do a lot of stuff. We do videos, we do articles, we do audio content, and we focus a lot on bringing value to the young people. And what does value mean for us? Value means creating articles, videos that really inspire the young generation, that inspire them to, you know, when you are in a bad place or it's not a good moment in your life, that you can jump over it and start over or refocus your brain to do new things and things that you're excited. So that's a little bit of what we do in Código Nuevo. I want to present you our 6 guests here. 3 of them are speakers of the Pangea of the Unleash event. First one is Prince Wasim. Big round of applause for him. Lucia Sanchez is the second one. Mo Bridges. We've got Andrea too. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the 3 first guests that are going to speak later. And then we've got 3 people that represent their organizations, Andrea, Alice, and Ekaterina. So what does youth mean? Am I a youth person? Are you all here youth persons? Is it a question of age? And if is it 20, 30, 40? What is there a terminology to define it? Or is it more a state of mind? Can a 50-year-old person be with a youth mentality, or it can't? That's what we're going to discuss a little bit here with our panel. So let's start with the first question. Then when we're finished, you can jump and text the questions through the app that you have, okay? So first of all, we were talking a little bit with you 3 and then with Mo, Wasim, and Lucia. What does youth mean for you?
Hello, can you hear me? So, buenas tardes, I'm Andrea again, thanks for the introduction. And I represent Nova, which is a global top talent network. If you want to hear more what we do, you can contact me later through the app. But going to the question, what youth is, you know, looking at the question, I went through on internet and said I need a quote because it sounds a bit smarter when you bring a quote in a room, it gives you credibility. So the quote I read was, it takes so much time to become young. And it made me reflect, and I realized that youth, there are 2 phases to youth for me. The first is when you are young, but you don't really realize you're young because you just are young, but you're not aware. And then there is a second phase, and I'm in between those 2, when you start understanding what youth was and you start living it again. So I believe everyone can live youth. It's a matter of becoming aware of what really is. And I think youth for me is being naive and having this energy to drive things forward. So that's my take on it.
Amazing. What about you, Mo? Just introduce your company and tell us about what do you think. He's only 15.
My name is Mosiah Bridges, and I am the CEO of Mo's Bows Handmade Bow Ties, and I'm 15 years old. And youth basically means that it just means to have fun, and it means to live in the moment. And I feel like I can speak a lot on it just because I am 15 and I do a lot of youth things like eating candy and ice cream and all of that. But I think it just means to live in the moment and have fun and be who you are at the moment.
Now, Lucia, introduce us. What's your company?
So
She's 17 only.
I'm Lucia Sanchez. I have a small game studio called Unicorn Gamer, where I develop a few games for Android and Apple devices. And now I'm developing apps. And for me, youth is a desire of having adventures and doing new things every day and learning new things. Because when you're young, you want to learn every day and experience new challenges.
Prince,
Yeah.
what's your take on youth? And introduce us,
My
your
name is
company,
Prince
please.
Wasim. I'll be speaking to you guys later on. I own a dessert bar in London called Milkshake, so I hope to hopefully see you guys there very soon. My take on youth is, like the rest of the panel said, it's like just being full of energy and, you know, being adventurous and trying new things and just going through this whole experiment of life and just seeing where the road takes you. Really, like, it's not really about being so serious about life, you know? Like, we only got one life. Do you know what I'm saying? That saying that Drake says, YOLO. Do you know what I mean? You only live once. So we've got to be very adventurous and, yeah, have fun, man. Live life.
That's true. One at bat. Alice, Katerina. Alice.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Alice. I'm the CEO and co-founder of The Family. So basically, at The Family, we think that anyone can become an entrepreneur and that society shouldn't be an obstacle. It's been 4 years. We are in Paris, London, and Berlin. We helped more than 500 startups, raise 300 million for them, and I'm very happy to be here in Madrid to connect with any kind of entrepreneurs here. What it means to be young, of course, it's not a matter of age. Of course, tons of my entrepreneurs through The Family, they can be 50, they can be 20, but there is a but.
There's a but. There's always a
To
but.
be honest, and I don't consider myself in terms of young. I'm 32. I try to be young, but there is still a difference. And this difference is that, you know, in our manifesto at The Family, we wrote this sentence, like, the youth must teach the old for the first time in history, because the world is changing, because internet is bringing so much content. You can learn anything. You don't need to go to Harvard now, right? So all the barriers are going down, and there is one thing that is separating. There is a big gap between the old and the young, is that they are native, meaning like they were born with a computer, with a smartphone. I wasn't. My first computer was when I was 20. So I can still, it's like language. I can still learn to speak English, see? But there is my French accent, and I will never dream in English. So the only difference for me is this, is that the young in terms of age have this language, this native language. They speak really fast.
They do. Amazing, yeah.
Very good point. Hello, everybody. My name is Ekaterina. I am a community manager of the Olympic Channel. And when you hear the word Olympic, you immediately think Olympic Games. And that's the right way of thinking. So we are the project of the Olympic Committee, but we are the baby of the Olympic Committee. So we were open just a year ago. In August, we celebrated 1 year. And the idea of my channel is to produce content every day, because the Olympic Games happen only every 2 or 4 years. So we don't really know what's happening with these amazing people, with the Olympians. So when you go to the olympicchannel.com, you can actually check out their daily lives, maybe some impressive events that they're participating in. And we really have a lot of young people working for the Olympic Channel. And we certainly have an older generation of people. So for me, youth, like it was already said, it is the spirit. But if I may, I will tell you about the very interesting experiment that I read recently. So it's called Scramble Sentence Test. And there was a group of people who came for the experiment, and they were given different sequences of sentences. And they just had to group those sequences of sentences together. And which they did, but after they were leaving this test, some of them started walking a bit differently, a bit slowlier. So the words that they were given included words like old, lonely, gray, slow, and so on. So this kind of shows us how our mind is like a one big programmed box, in a way, is a computer, you know? If you put words like young, amazing, cool, fun, you're gonna program it in the way you want it. And I do believe that age doesn't matter at all.
True, true, completely true. On my daily basis, I work a lot with young people, older people, and it's amazing how 40, 50-year-olds understand what young people want. The other day I was talking with a partner, and he was just saying, okay, this content's gonna work, and it's gonna work because it's gonna touch these emotions on the 18, 22-year-old basis. And it was spot on. That was that content did. So I feel this a lot in my organization. There's some that really understand it and some that don't. Do you have any examples of people that you feel are like an example of youth but are older in age? Ekaterina, you
want to start?
Prince?
Let me think. I mean, let's take, for instance, one of the most successful businessmen of our times, Richard Branson, for instance. When you see him, when he's doing his branding and marketing, you can see the youthfulness in his branding. So I take Richard Branson as an example because when he's like doing adverts and stuff, you know, he's targeting the youth. And for him to be able to do that, obviously he's got a team around him, but you have to have that understanding of youthfulness in you.
Psychology.
So that psychology, exactly, yeah. So, yeah.
Amazing. Katerina, do you want to say something?
Yeah, well, I have an amazing personal example. I used to study photography, and I have an amazing photography teacher. And I remember when I was a super shy student walking in one of the rooms, I needed to take pictures for one of our photography projects. And when my teacher saw me, you know, standing somewhere in the corner, feeling not so comfortable, she said, come on in here, feel comfortable. And then she said, okay, you're taking pictures from a very conventional way. How about you just climb on the table? And I said, come on, there are students sitting, how can I climb? She said, but you know, if it's gonna make the pictures better, sometimes you have to go all the way and not to be scared. And then the next second I see this grown-up woman climbing the table, and her students all are laughing and enjoying the moment as well. And the pictures turned out to be amazing. It's just one of the examples of how, you know, a grown-up woman wasn't scared of what the others will think about her, and she had that truly youth spirit inside.
True, amazing. So all this youth, all these words that are we using to describe it, why is it so important? Is it youth better than older? Why? Why is it so important?
So
Lucille?
for me, youth is not more important than being old. It's just the philosophy that each person takes. Like, youth means to want to take adventures, and regardless of your age. So many people, when they grow up and they start getting responsibilities, they become boring and they don't want to do fun things anymore because they feel pressured that they need to have a family or have responsibilities such as taking care of their children. But regardless of that, I think everyone should keep doing things that they like and things that so many people think like, oh no, I'm too old to do that. And I think that that's a wrong thought.
I totally agree. What you said is that, in another word, like the more you grow, the harder it is to stay young because you have responsibilities. And for sure, in the room, if you have under 30, if you are under 30, you are gifted because you have time. Maybe you don't have yet a family. So for sure, I mean, you are in the right condition to dedicate all of your passion to your project and to start now. But it doesn't mean that when you have a family and when you have more responsibilities, you cannot be young. But it's going to be like more a bigger challenge. And that's the thing I see in the entrepreneurs we accompany at the family, that the more they grow, the more they get successful, and the harder it is to keep on having the success, to stay fresh, and to take, again, another risk. It's like a great singer, like releasing a new album, and all the time surprising the audience that it's still good, but it's harder by the time. Because in a way, the more you get rewarded, the less you grow, because you don't have to question yourself. You are good, you've been successful. And I do think that the more you have pain, and the more you experience things, and the more you go through hard stuff, you have a depth, like you have an understanding of life that can make you do big things.
Well, for me as a young kid, when I started my company when I was 9 years old, all that I would hear was, "Oh, you're not a real businessman. Your mom does all your work for you," which I do have to have support to create a successful company. But that's why I speak to kids from all over the world, and I go to these different conventions, because I want to tell them that they can do anything at any age, and you don't have to be too old to do anything. You don't have to be too young to do anything. And also being a young person and being the youth, that basically means that you're open to learn and you have to be patient. But that also means that the elderly, or the wise, I like to call them, have to be patient and have to know that, I mean, we are young, we love to move around, and we love to do all those things. So just being patient and open to learn, I would say, would be the best combinations to teaching.
I think my comment connects a bit both Alice and your comment. Going back to the youth aspect, I think the naivety in your eyes when you're young allows you to drive changes that you would not drive otherwise. So I believe that it's true that by growing you lose time, but at the same time, being young allows you to not being restricted by biases, by society around you. So this is why we have great example like him. At 9 years old, congratulations.
Amazing. We were talking outside about a very important topic. We were talking about talent against hard work. So what's more important? Is it talent that brings you there? Is it hard work? Is it both? I think like LeBron couldn't have made it if he hadn't got the talent and the hard work. You know, it's like it's a combination of the two things. But there's a lot of different opinions out there, so I would like to know yours.
Boy, oh boy. Like, that is a powerful question. And I say that because you can have the talent and not do the work. And then, so what's your talent worth? And then you can have someone that doesn't have talent, but his work ethic is like beyond comparable, and he's seeing the results. So I think it's very important to understand that there needs to be a balance. Do you know what I mean? So if you have talent, you need to make use of it in order to see the results. So yeah, I think.
And if you don't have the talent?
If you don't have the talent, then like, I mean, I'll save it for my speech. I don't want to spoil it, but like, for me, I didn't think like I had a talent. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it took time with me trying to find myself and know what I like, and just, you know, some alone time to discover who I am, to find my passion for what I like, to then put work ethic to be where I am today. So I don't think like talent, because look at like Bruce Lee and all these, you know, these people that are motivational of today. When we read back to their history, like the kicks that he does, how many times did he have to practice and practice and practice and practice until he get that one kick right? So, and he got it wrong so many times. And it's okay to do something wrong so many times, so long as you get it right in the end.
Micro failures against micro against macro failures.
Exactly, yeah, so that's my view on it, yeah.
Yeah, it's about talent. As I told, Nova works with top talent, and we have an intake process where we screen people before accepting them. So we try to define talent in our way. And there is no such a member within the network that doesn't have the humbleness and the willingness to work hard and work on the talent. So as you said, I think talent without the hard work mentality will not bring you far. It might give you a competitive edge, but it will exhaust over time. You cannot be on top of the game all the time.
Yeah, just if I may, everybody's got talent. But what is hard to get is courage. So courage to express your talent. That's it. And if I may, when we interact with entrepreneurs and we help them to grow their own talent, it's just by telling them, ask yourself this question. According to your friends, who are you? Like, you are the one good at this. A simple skill. It doesn't have to be a huge passion. Like, passion, it's hard to say, I have this passion. No, but you're good at this. And you can start doing it. And just starting that way, having the courage to start that way on the skills.
You can control the hustle, but not the talent. So if I wanted to be a basketball player, if I train like 10 hours a day, 12, whatever, I would never be LeBron. I would be a fair good basketball player, but I wouldn't get there. So I think it's the right combination. And if it's not your talent, what are you doing? You have to seek another thing that's really your talent, or the thing that you can express this talent.
Just adding to what was already said, I think passion is a great word, but it can also be quite a dangerous word. I always say that things start from curiosity, because I'm sure we all had those moments in life you just don't feel passionate about anything, and passion is that fire inside of you, and sometimes you just don't have it, and the whole world, the TV, everybody tells you that you have to have it, and I think it's okay to come to terms with the fact that sometimes you don't have it, but then you ask yourself, what am I curious about? So when you find that little trigger that makes you curious about life, then you can build upon that. And also I think one of the things that we discussed, you're asking whether it's older people or younger people, it's a talent or hard work. I think it's amazing when those two things come together. We don't need to choose if it's young or older people. Younger people can learn a lot of things from older people. Older people can learn how to use Twitter, I don't know, like one of those modern tools. So it shouldn't be black or white, you know, there are so many more colors to this, so, and we are free to choose and learn from one another. I think that's the point.
So youth can be enhanced, or no? Is there a set of guidelines that when you enter in an organization, they say, okay, you have to have this attitude and you have to do it this way? Or you come with it and that's static and that's it? And what kind of organizations do that? Sorry, that's the last question, and seeing the public questions there. Someone wants to answer? Alice?
I think when you lose when you feel like you've lost it, then you understand what it is. Because first you're gifted, like you're curious, you're open, you're fresh, you are ignorant and naive, and you go and boom, and you learn. And then you start being afraid, you are okay with your little success, and then you don't see all the opportunity just by speaking with each other, you know? I lost it many times, and it's a hard work to go back and to start fresh again, and to re-question and to reboot. So, I mean, it's constant. It's a constant effort, and sometimes I'm young, sometimes I'm old.
Andrea?
Yeah, my comment, you asked, you know, if, you know, can be enhanced, if this youth can be enhanced. I believe so, and we are seeing in many of the companies we work for, you know, this reverse mentoring, or what I like about youth is that it's a bit contagious. So as soon as you touch it, you get kind of contagion in a way. So I believe that if companies can leverage the youth, but also more senior leaders who keep this youth within them and build teams around this common value, I think it can be enhanced. It becomes part of a company culture. And this is what we try to, you know, consult the company with, understand how you can become an attractive employer for future leaders. So I think it can be enhanced, and we've seen many great examples. So there is hope.
amazing.
Well, I definitely think youth can be enhanced, and like he just said, it is definitely contagious because my mom is asking to be my friend on Snapchat now, and I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think it's for me, fashion is my passion, so I feel like it can be enhanced just by the bright colors that you wear and a Mo's bow, of course.
We'll go through then the questions from the public, okay? So, Lucia, let's start with you. What would be your advice for a young programmer who wants to start making video games?
So, if you want to start making video games, the first thing that you have to do is to visualize how you want your game to be and draw it with pens and paper, and then you can get your idea clear. And once you know what you want to do, search for a tutorial. For example, if you design a game that you have to break, I don't know, some blocks, and you want to learn how to make the movement that when a person clicks on the screen, the block breaks. You have to watch a tutorial on YouTube, search for that, search for what you want to learn, and copy everything that you see, the code. And well, to start first, you have to decide if you want to do a 3D game or a game for using Xcode, which is Apple's developing software. First, you choose the platform, and then you choose your idea, and you visualize it, and then you start learning by watching tutorials.
Cool.
I talked about it tomorrow in my speech.
Sorry, the apathy one, yeah, I like that one. They say that our generation is full of apathy. What do you think about it? Give me some examples of people that are the opposite of it. Andrea?
Yeah, going to this question, I strongly disagree with the statement that we are, sinking in apathy. Mostly because when we look around ourselves, I think there hasn't been a better time to be alive for many ways, even though we try to picture it as is the end of the world. And when you go behind these figures, you see that young entrepreneurs are taking this on, and we are driving most of the impact together with big companies and senior people. And I think today we are not, you're not sinking in apathy, because talent is becoming the factor that attracts money as well. Like, if you look back in the past, I see money being the factor that attracted resources and talent. Now I see a big shift where the talent is, the factor that attracts money, and you can see this happening. So I would say we can become better, but definitely I do not accept when people say we are sinking in apathy, because it's not true. So yeah, that's my take.
Well, I think apathy, people can be apathetic sometimes, but being apathetic means you just didn't find your direction, and that's the problem. Maybe sometimes it comes from the education, sometimes you don't feel enough support from somebody, and it's okay to feel like this sometimes, but it's good to find like-minded people, and that's the key. And I think that people felt apathy years ago, people are still feeling apathy sometimes today, but it's about how to overcome this apathy. Sometimes it's not about the fight, sometimes it's about finding the solution, right? So I think sometimes it's good to know the solution of how to start being active and, yes, exactly, to fix it.
I agree with that statement, and I think that I would say that every generation has apathy, but I wouldn't say that I've had it just because I've always surrounded myself with people that push and uplift my talents, and my mom has always put people in my life that will guide me in the right way in the career that I want to focus in. And I think that comes with the saying of having a village to raise a child or something like that. My mom always says it. But I think that's a true statement, because if you give your child, or you give whoever you're putting effort into all of what they need, then they won't have that, mind wandering around, wondering what they want to do.
So, next one. What do you think makes the new generation different from those before it? Prince, you want to have this one?
What was that? Sorry, I'm joking.
What do you think makes the new generation different? Our generation different from the
What makes it different?
Gen X or...
I think it's much easier. I mean, as what's your name there? Sorry, Alice. As Alice said earlier on, like when she was growing up, she didn't have social media and all of these things that we are now accessible to and have access to. So I feel like the generations, of course, I mean, I come from an African background. Like my mum just started, she just started to know about Instagram. She's like, "What's this? What is this?" Do you know what I mean? Like it's all different for her. So yeah, like the generations have definitely changed for us.
It's just, I think it's crazy, like the information flow that we're like, just like you said, it can be both positive and negative. Like, for example, our host, Lucy, she started a YouTube blog and she has her audience and she has so many subscribers. And that's one of the really positive examples of how you don't have to depend on some right holders nowadays. You can just start something of your own and be successful with it.
Yeah, totally. The thing is that today, I guess, the more you're different and the more you can find people different like you. And because they are on the internet. Otherwise, you had to conform yourself to your classroom, to the city people. Whereas now, if I have something very weird, like, I don't know, and it can be anything. I will find my counterpart, I will find a community, I can chat with them. And so what I see from my perspective is that this new generation is much more, what I feel, tolerant. Because they've seen all of those differences. And you see like mindfulness, yoga, meditation stuff. Like I didn't started being interested by this before, like 2 years ago. But I know some kids, like they are 15 years old and they do their sun salutation every morning. Because like they know how it is important to be balanced, and because they've seen it online, So for me, this is, I see it more tolerant.
No, for me, the main difference between our generation and previous generations is just that it's much easier for us to share our ideas and to get more people to get to know our projects, because previous generations had it really difficult to spread their thoughts, and now with social networks, we are allowed to get to anyone anywhere around the world. For example, thanks to social networks, I met many people from a lot of countries downloaded my game, and otherwise it would be very hard for me to share these projects.
Okay, so next one. Can talent derive from hard work, or do you think talent can be achieved by any means? That's a little bit what we talked about earlier before. I'll jump on this one. No, that's it. No more. Well, thank you very much for attending here and listening to our brilliant guests. Big round of applause.